Water bottle. So good morning all of you. Anything useful in today's paper? Your orientation should be towards prelims more rather than mains, right? Yes. So your thought process should be more or less about identifying prelims topics and just a hint of mains topics. That means when you come back after prelims, you should at least realize, okay, there is a topic which I'm supposed to follow for mains. The best example is this Chaitra Ramakrishnan case, where you can use this in ethics case studies and corporate governance. Okay, and role of regulatory bodies in GS paper 2. So that is a major thing. Normally, what happens is when we read ethics basics, we hear about morals, values, ethics, organization values, and all this stuff. But ultimately, it all boils down to a individual's moral compass. If an individual's moral compass is corrupt, all the rules in the world can be bent, can be bypassed. Yes or no? If I decide to be a corrupt person, no force on the earth can make me stop doing the corruption. So in the same way, corruption is not only about money. Corruption is about kind. Corruption is, of different types. Not doing your job properly is also corruption. Wasting public money is a form of corruption. Not doing things efficiently and effectively is a form of corruption. So there are a number of ways to identify topics. Okay. So in this particular case, what is happening? The nuts and bolts are not at all important for us. The macro thing, because when you write mains, it will be 4 or 5 months old news. But the macro perspective that institutions should have the thought process. Okay. And like any other scheme or scam in India, these things don't happen overnight. From ages, these things brew, but nobody brings it out. Why nobody is talking about when it is happening?
Because she has done a lot of good, so whatever she is doing, chalega.
Chalega. Okay. Apart from that, this is what we have discussed, right? We also need a structural reform. Even SEBI has to create a mechanism where there should be a time-bound inquiries. Yes or no? You see, someone have already complained to SEBI. SEBI took 40 months to conduct that survey. So there is no report even today. So why 40 months? Who should be filed in SEBI for this delay? Right? So these are the thought process that you should have. And that's basic. Operation Ganga. All of you know what is Operation Ganga. Yes, it's the next Akshay Kumar movie. Right. Now again, not limited to this particular article. In the last 1 week also, you must have seen governors multiple times. So what is happening in Telangana Assembly, Lavanya? Narayan, what is happening in Telangana Assembly? Not following? Yes.
Speaker was not. Speaker's address was not there for the budget session.
Speaker's address was not there for the budget session. So is it mandatory that speaker should?
No, sir. It's a tradition.
Speaker or governor?
Governor, actually. Governor. Governor Sundarajan. The reason they were given was that when the previous session was held, it was adjourned signed. So this is not a new session that's happening. The previous session was not prorogued. So this session does not need.
See, what is adjournment sanadai means?
Adjourned sanadai means
without specifying the time.
For an indefinite period of time. So can the session be revived or prorogued? Adjournment sanadai. Okay. After that, is it only prorogued or can be revived?
It can be revived.
It can be revived. So whose discretion is it? Speaker or
Speaker.
Governor?
Speaker.
Speaker only.
Yes, sir.
Who can revive the session of the House?
Because it is adjourned signed day, it is only Speaker that can do that, sir.
Governor will summon.
Just think about it. There is a parliament assembly session that is happening. An assembly session is happening and it is adjourned till tomorrow's afternoon.
Yes, sir.
So that is the power of the speaker, right? He can, or the chairperson of that house, vice speaker, chairperson of the house will decide how long a session is adjourned. If we did not mention any specific date or time, it is considered as adjourned Saturday. Okay. After that, who will decide whether the house is prorogued? Let's say it is decided to be prorogued. End of the session, winter session is done. Who will do that? Governor or speaker?
Prorogation and summoning, it is done by governor, sir.
Prorogue is a power of governor, not the speaker. Is it started? Is it discretionary power?
Yes, sir.
Or he should do it on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers? $179, I think. 160. Okay, some 9.
We will do that on the aid and advice of the
Article 169 says he should do it on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers.
and it also exists few exceptions.
So my simple question is this: proroguing a house is the discretionary power of the governor? Yes or no? Or is it speaker? So that is the way you are supposed to read the newspaper, right? Because if something is happening, it was in the news. So what happens in Maharashtra or any other state has zero impact on UPSC, but the constitutional part has to be discussed. Okay, and every time a new year or a new session is happening, the president or governor may or shall give the
Opening address.
opening address. Is it may or shall?
Shall.
Shall. He should give it. Okay. So this you find it out. You find it out tomorrow. Like what is the entire drama? Whether it is to be prorogued or adjournment Saturday. Whose responsibility is it? Fine. So a border security force officer have killed fellow officers. So we can look at this from multiple points of view. We don't know the actual reason, so I don't want to jump into the conclusions. But one thing is mental health issues in armed forces. Okay, mental health issues in armed forces. They work under extreme pressure. They work for long amount of time. Suicides are not a very uncommon thing in armed forces or in police services. We have heard multiple times, out of pressure, frustration, a junior officer have shot the senior officer. He was not given leave. So they work under extreme mental duress and pressure. So what are the reforms or what should be done within the armed forces to keep them mentally healthy also? So you can also bring in yoga, meditation and all those things if that is the reason. If it is some personal issue, then we will look at it from that particular point of view. We'll come to wetlands. Now, what is happening in Russia? In sanctions, but there was a wonderful article few days ago in Indian Express regarding the sanctions part. Have you seen it? Right side. That sanctions are an outdated mechanism. Sanctions are not efficiently working in favor of anyone, right? Because if Russia is having a lot of sanctions, automatically you are pushing Russia into
Isolation.
China's camp. As long as you push Russia, you are pushing Russia into Chinese camp. So that is not good for India, right? And probably we are also creating an environment in the world where parallel economies or parallel solutions will be found out. For example, America is imposing sanctions on North Korea, Iran, Iraq, let's say Syria, or some other country, now Russia. Even China has created an alternative mechanism to SWIFT. Okay, so when all these countries decide to create a parallel mechanisms where sanctions will have least amount of impact, See, this is extreme examples where China is creating a parallel solution to SWIFT, and they will do the transactions. So Russia won't be affected by that. Not only that, so in soft way, countries like India are trying to develop this rupee swapping. Yes, that means we will pay the Russians in Indian rupee. Okay, so in tomorrow's world, if China's renminbi, our central bank digital currency, is adapted, you must have seen the news, right, where Google Pay is banned in Russia. All the Russian citizens are now running for money, but they don't have enough money in the liquid form, right? So huge queues are being formed. So that over dependency on some third-party platforms or global institutions is not working. So China might tomorrow encourage Russia to adapt its CBDC. See, UPI, all of you know UPI, right?
Yes.
Indian UPI. In the similar, there is something in China. Okay, if tomorrow China pushes that into Russia, and if Russian citizens adapt that, okay, you're actually increasing the adaptation of renminbi as a global currency, which is not at all good for India. Few years ago, we have seen that in SDR, Chinese currency has been added.
Yes.
Now, if there is an adaptation of CBDC by, not everybody in Russia, but some parties in Russia, slowly, we are creating that atmosphere. So tomorrow, Iran oil deal. Iran might also enter into the same agreement with China. That means the transactions will happen online. Then you are actually empowering your own enemy,
Yes.
which is China. So these are the major problems that one have to think. The more the West pushes Russia, the longer the Russia and China work together, the more the dependencies will increase, the more the problems for countries like India. Okay, so that is one thought process. The next is the paradigm of West. West is still seeing Russia as an enemy. Okay, and as long as they have that clouded judgment, it is not going to solve any kind of issues. Okay, and countries like India, Germany are the sufferers because of this economic sanctions. So we must have seen newspaper article which says 15 rupees is needed to break even the petrol prices.
Yes.
Yesterday, single day before yesterday. That means today the petrol price is around 108 rupees. So 15 rupee increase in petrol price is a huge amount of increase, and it erodes savings like anything, and it increases inflation. Yeah. Now coal is being in demand throughout the world. Even European countries will start importing coal now. So India's coal dependency will be costly. Gold prices are increasing. That will also affect us. Like this, our country or our economy is being affected by all these actors. So this article also says more or less the same thing, that USA is happy in its own ground. Across the Atlantic, it is very safe. Why? It has its own shale gas deposits and renewable energy. So it has no dependency on the outside world, but it is imposing sanctions on every other party, right? It will affect energy securities of different nations. For example, Germany here. But Germany, under moral obligation, had said no to Nord Stream 2. Normally, Germany would not say that. So all these are going to create a new kind of global order or thought process that will severely change the world as we know. That is one thought process that you should think. Apart from that, the rest all are very repeated questions. 3Cs initiative, I have given you the map, right? Baltic Sea, Adriatic Sea, Black Sea, the blue color triangle diagram. If you remember all the countries. So these are more or less the same countries which NATO has expanded after 1997. So 3Cs initiative, it is in the news related to which sees geography map pointing point of view. Again, my focus is more on films because see, these things will keep on evolving. There is no end to the Russia-Ukraine news articles, but at the same time, don't feel bored. Keep reading them. Conflict and setting change for social media. Yes, this is what I call a bad answer writing. Okay, if this is an answer, I would not give a good amount of marks for this particular answer. What could have been conveyed in less amount of words is conveyed more. The first rule of good answer writing is less is more. One line is rule, two lines is exception. Okay, that means you have to convey one point in one line. That is a good answer. Now, what is she saying? Conflict and setting a change for social media. Point number 1. Information wars or infodemic is not new to the world. Infodemic is not something that she uses, but information plus pandemic, infodemic. So overload of post-truth articles is a information war. We have seen info wars are very common, and cyber war attracts. Any kind of war attracts info war. Next, cyber attacks have increased. Yes. Now she doesn't talk about cyber wars, but her core argument is there is social media companies, and social media companies do not have global rules. Okay, because they don't have global rules, they can choose to play sides. If USA is pressurizing Facebook and Twitter, the world will be flooded with pro-Ukraine point of view, and Russia will be portrayed as a villain. But what is the basis of technology? It is supposed to be neutral. It is a double-edged sword. Okay, so is Russia good here? No, even Russia is using the same tricks. Russia is already using the social media to create a huge amount of negativity against US or Ukraine. So is China. So China and Russia are using their media to give the world a point of view that USA is the bad person here, whereas USA and the West is trying to portray Russia as the bad person here. In reality, both of them are biased, and these social media companies will favor one or the other, and that is not good for future of the world. Why? Tomorrow I need not send army to overthrow your government. I can manipulate the social media. Yes or no? Russia have done more or less the same thing in the Donald Trump election. Yes. So social media has such power over the masses that they can manipulate democracies. So that is why we need a global consensus on how social media should be used. As of today, we don't have any such things, and there is a shadow banning. In Twitter, there is a concept called as shadow banning. That means you have 10 lakh followers, but you have tweeted something, but Twitter can restrict that view to 10,000 people only. That means the reach is not reaching 10 lakh people, only few people are seeing that. It will be there, but very few people will see. Okay, so if I give you money, let's say I'm a company, technological company, I have launched a new product, Apple 14, Apple 15 something. So there is a huge amount of issue, or there is a negativity towards that. I might pay Facebook and Twitter some money to shadow ban such criticisms. So if people search problem with Apple 14, very few tweets will be shown, the others will be hidden. So what do you think? Occasionally 1 or 2 complaints are there, majority are happy with it. So that is again manipulation. So technology companies will manipulate. So consensus, that is a major theme. There is no global consensus for use of social media for proper purposes. There is no ethical standards. Internal ethical standards are one thing, but practical application is one more thing. So that is what whistleblower of Facebook have told, right? Indian Facebook was used for communal propaganda. Everybody knew that, but Facebook did not do anything about it. Okay, next, they don't have that intention. Technology or artificial intelligence cannot identify tweet. Say for example, I have posted something. How do you decide, or who are you to decide what is the boundary, whether it's hatred or whether it's acceptable? You are understanding, right? I posted something on Facebook. So if you don't like it, see, if I criticize someone, let's say I criticize Prime Minister Modi. As a fan of Modi, you may not like what I said, but again, it is my fundamental right. Right? So who will decide that? Where do we draw that line? Should I delete that post or should I keep it? If I delete, one section will say you are pro Modi. If I don't delete, you are say you are working for BJP. As an intermediary, I have no clue. Right? So it takes a huge amount of manpower to identify such posts. Okay, so that is also one problem. If I train artificial intelligence, how do I train it? Which words, which language, how? That is also a problem. Next, there is no global consensus. So if global consensus has to be created, and again, if it is created by the West, don't you think it will be manipulated by the West?
Bias towards it.
Just like WTO or IMF or World Bank, if the West comes together and creates a global rules, and that rules will be imposed on us. Yes or no? When USA does this, nobody will talk about it. But if Russia is doing this, everybody have a problem. By hypocrisy, ethical standards. Yes or no? If tomorrow India enters, let's say, into some part of Aksai Chin Tibet to reclaim our own territory or POK, do you think we will receive the same kind of support that Ukraine is receiving now? Again, hypocrisy, right? That is one more point. And other thing that she discusses is India should be an active member in building this global consensus. If we are a part of the consensus who are creating the agreement, we will make sure that in future also or in present also, it does not hurt our thought process or our national interests. So if we are not part of the community which is creating the rules, you might be left out of the rules. NPT. Yes or no? NPT. Why India is not signing NPT? NPT is created by the nuclear powers who had the power already. So they're keeping their own security interests first, and they're telling others to have morals and values. So morals don't apply to me; it applies to others. Why? I already have a nuclear weapon. It's very easy for China to say so, right? Or USA to say so. But what about India? Yes. See, in today's world, if India is getting some kind of respect or some kind of weightage, it is because we have a nuclear weapon. Or else if two of our neighbors like Pakistan and China have a nuclear weapon and India does not have a nuclear weapon, then what will happen? If they have to choose sides, they will choose the sides with more power. Or we will be exactly in the dilemma that Ukraine is. We are dependent on US security architecture. India would be forced to join NATO. Think about it. Why can we maintain strategic autonomy? Because the world needs us, we also need the world, and we are strong, right? But if we are not strong, then India does not have a capacity to protect its own self from the aggression of Pakistan and China. Then we might be forced to join the camps. That is why Ukraine is begging to join NATO, right? Ukraine always knew that I'm a buffer state. I'm sandwiched between Russia. So one or the other day I have to choose sides. So Ukraine decided to choose NATO over Russia. That is where Russia is. Okay. As simple as that. You got the concept? Yes. So all these things are mains. Is NATO a member of? Sorry. Is India a member of NPT? No. Okay. So I hope you understand. Whether in future negotiations, WTO, climate change, data protection, think of any global issue. Every global issue, India has to be at the heart of at least the agreements. At least we should, be a member of that agreement, so that in future we can bring some positive changes. If we are not a part, then we will be locked out. And who will make sure we are locked out? China. There is some line. Where is the line? Right. So this is the heart of her argument. Oops. India's strategic position in global order appears to be diminishing. The time is right to set that right and gain currency. We have every opportunity to project ourselves as a global leader, whether in Ukraine-Russia conflict, influencing our soft power, or leveraging our relation with China, Russia, or USA, or any other country. We have that global opportunity, but we are not leveraging it properly. We are using it, but we are not leveraging. Leverage means get an edge. Yes. So is India? Does India deserve to be in P5 membership? Yes or no? India deserves to be in P5 membership. So what did India do in the last 1 week to say to the world that I deserve to be in P5 membership? Or UNSC reforms? So it's abstaining. So abstaining is a weakness. It's a negative. Or is it strategic autonomy?
So it is powerless, hidden under the veil of strategy.
It is covered as hidden under strategic autonomy. So you are taking the side of Ukraine. So you believe that Russia is an aggressor. Right? Okay, I will tell you one thing. So if tomorrow, let's say Nepal decided to side with China. Okay, so what should be our stand? Allow it happily. Right? It is covered as hidden under strategic autonomy, right? You only said the same, like covered as. Why? Are we afraid? Say, as I told you, if Nepal joins China, I should not personally have a problem with it. It's their choice. It's a sovereign country deciding to join with a fellow sovereign country. It's their choice. But will they leave me alone? Or the buffer state between China and India is blurred? Now, are we facing directly every day? Now, India and China have become neighbors. I mean, in one more way. Already we are neighbors through geography, right? But now we have extra. So should we allow that? Taking a liberal stand, you should not have a problem. Why? Let Nepal people decide. It's their choice. What should I do? But from that point onwards, China have a direct highway to India. And if they start creating headache, then what will you do? Then technically you won't do anything. Then someday some strong strong man will become a prime minister of India. Then he will say, because of Nepal we have headaches, it's time to annex Nepal. After 25 years of headaches, he will decide that. Then what will you say? After 25 years, right? Why? Simple logic. Yes. So don't take sides that easily. International relations is a very dirty game. There are no ethical values or moral values. The only value that is accepted in international relations is survival. You have to survive at any cost, no matter what. Everything else is subservient. Individual moral values, fine. You are a Russian citizen, you go to Putin's house, you shout, no to war. Okay, but as a nation, you have elected him, you have all the choices, you have to respect it. So we are not supporting Russia, nor are we saying that it is doing all the right things. What we are doing is we are openly saying that no matter what, first de-escalation has to happen. First war has to stop. Next, is Russia willing to give back everything that it has occupied? That is a long-term goal, right? We should aim for that. If protecting Ukraine is the actual goal, right now, even if the war is stopped, some part of Ukraine is gone. Like Crimea, it is gone forever. So is that the goal? Or should we negotiate a long-term peace deal with Russia so that Ukraine will get back everything that it has lost? What about the human rights in the occupied area? Right? So these things have to be discussed. And again, this is
we see like some unruly neighbor like China is claiming our villages in Arunachal Pradesh. Tomorrow it might come and annex. At that time,
that is why we need friends.
Can we lobby the entire
morals
world to support us?
Morals can't stop China, right? Gandhi's statue in the Arunachal Pradesh is not going to stop China from coming into India. So what will stop it? Missiles, hard missiles, or drones, predator drones. Who will give me predator drones? DRDO? No. China? No. Israel or Russia or USA? These people have to give me. So right now I cannot offend them. So exactly your own scenario. In future, if China is occupying Arunachal Pradesh or parts of Arunachal Pradesh, yes, even will sit in the AC room and it will decide, China, you are bad. Is it stopping China? What is stopping? So who will give me missiles? Not only Russia, anyone. See, again here the concept is not at all about Russia. Whoever will help me is my friend. France. So tomorrow, so Sudan or Wakanda came out revealing that they will give you new weapons. Wakanda, right? Black Panther.
You don't know
No,
that.
okay, fine.
Is it a
No, it's not a country. It's a made-up country which have a lot of technology. Nobody knew about it. So if tomorrow some African small country comes and says, I have all the technology in the world, I will support you. Best friend. India and that country is best friend. Why? At the grassroots level, my national interest is everything. So it's not only about abstaining for Russia. The principle is, if you are my friend, I will, I will try to be as reasonable as possible. That is the message we are saying it to the world. So we are not offending USA, we are not offending Russia. See, it's a moral imposition that West is trying to bring on to India. Just forget all the world history, post-independence consolidation, just think about India. What was India? Like India was a country which was begging for PL 480. India was the same country which had, nuclear sanctions. After Pokhran test, all the countries in the world have done sanctions on India, just like Iran. Okay, then 2008 agreement. Now India is whatever we are seeing. So this happened only by certain amount of compromises and breaking the rules, right? So purely ethical stand, if I take, I am not supposed to develop nuclear weapons. But today I have reaped the benefit of having a nuclear power. I'm getting that respect. So going by the moral standards that West have imposed on me, I should be a criminal like North Korea for not respecting non-proliferation treaty. Yes. So whose ethical values were there? The West ethical values was imposed on India or every other country not to develop a nuclear weapon. For them, it was easy. Okay, but it was a long-term gamble for USA. Just as I told you, if India did not develop nuclear weapons, believing innocently, yes, America will protect us, you will be forced to join NATO camp in 2022. So the decision you took in 1990, okay, come back to haunt you in 2022. So today in 2022, I'm saying America is my friend, Russia is my friend. Why am I able to say that? At least I have that nuclear deterrence. I have that respect. Okay. So all these things matter. If I purely stick to ethical values, which is good thing by the way, but the opposite party should also understand and appreciate that. Yes. You get the point, right? So again, the concept here is India is doing the right thing. What probably we don't know is behind the scenes, India might be lobbying very heavily with Russia, saying, you should at least start negotiating with the West. Yesterday, Putin made a statement. At least now, if you are okay to agree that, Ukraine won't join, I will stop the war. But West is not saying anything. So West has that lens, its own problems. But in the end of the day, just like World War II, US is very happy sitting across the Atlantic. It has no cost whatsoever. No, you're not going to send your soldiers onto the ground. You don't have gas dependency. You are developed. What is the problem? The problem is for India and Germany. So again, as a pragmatist, a real politics, we should be very clear in which position we are in. We are nowhere closer to declare Atmanirbharta in everything. We are still heavily dependent. So till we become that Atmanirbharta, whatever it is, okay, we should be very careful in taking every decision. So people will criticize us anyhow. So if tomorrow India voted against Russia, they will say India is not sending money. India is not sending doctors. India is not sending food. It will never end, right? The criticism will never end.
On the day when our Indian kid was declared, you said that it's her time.
We change our stand. Yes, I will call Putin and say, I am going to vote against you. Don't feel bad. But we are still friends. See, that is where Raja Mohan has rightly pointed out, right? Putin is not Russia. I'm changing my stand against Putin, not Russia. Sir, thanks. Sir. You get the idea? See, Putin is pursuing his ideology to bring back all the lost glory. That is why Ukraine war is happening. If tomorrow someone kills Putin, internal coup has happened, military coup has happened, our West has succeeded in eliminating Putin, somebody will become president of Russia. He will stop the war. India and Russia are still friends, but not India and Putin. So as of today, because my own citizens have died, I cannot no longer encourage you from doing this madness. right? So I don't like you, but I am still friends with Russia. So Putin is not Russia. So India is friends with Russia, not Putin, right? So we need to have that distinction. See again, not all votes are bad. Take the example of Sri Lanka. We have few years ago voted against Sri Lanka, right? There was a government, we voted against Sri Lanka in UN human rights. Then we came back and made peace with Sri Lanka. Now we abstained from voting against Sri Lanka. It suited my national interest. At that time, Sri Lanka was in Chinese basket. So I voted against Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka said, okay, we'll make peace. Now what is good for me? Abstaining is good for me. Will it bring back anything in Sri Lanka? No. Right? I hope you understand.
China has explicitly supported Russia.
Hmm.
So at the time, hypothetically, when India's sovereignty would be compromised by China, then we expect Russia supporting my country.
Exactly. A very good question. So first of all, China has explicitly criticized West rather than support Russia. Okay. If you see the foreign policy statements of Chinese governments, it is more in the lines of, it is the reason, it is the West who created this tension. If West did not provoke Russia, if West did not provoke Russia, it would not have been Russia's point. So it is twisting the narration in favor of Russia. Okay. And Russia and China, actually both of them secretly want to be the best friend of USA. Both of them need USA more than each other. Tomorrow, if actually, Biden brings a return agreement saying all these things, Putin will jump happily to get an opportunity to make peace with USA. It is long-term good for Europe, Russia, and USA also. Then we can happily isolate China. China is also happy to make peace with USA. The trade wars will stop. But pragmatically speaking, both of them know that it is not going to happen. There can be no peace between almost two superpowers. But there is a huge amount of possibility of peace between West and Russia. So we need that Henry Kissinger, who will come and make peace between West and US, Russia and USA. That is a long-term solution needed. And it is very, very clear that Russia clearly knows that China is not going to give that leeway or leverage to Russia. So Russia will be a subordinate state under China. But Russia is fighting for what now? Pride, the last glory. So do you think such a country wants to be a sidekick to China? It wants to be Batman, not Robin. Right? Okay. So that is exactly the reason why it is attacking Ukraine. And again, do we believe that China will be allowed to become Batman? So I seriously doubt that. So the Russian pride is we are a superpower once. We need that respect. So that respect is missing. Who should give that respect? West. That's the theory. Umang, Sanskrit.
Seems like a
Movie, yes. Now, our enemy, what is our enemy happily doing while we are focused on the left? There is a Sun Tzu statement, right? There is a Chinese statement which says, make sound on the right, attack from left. Okay. So in the same way, now the world is happily distracted on Russia, Ukraine war. So what might be China doing? China is happily developing infrastructure in Afghanistan. China is probably exploring minerals in Afghanistan. Yes, concretizing its base in Taiwan. Yes, or focusing more on South China Sea. So China might be happily concretizing. It got a lot of breathing space, right? So in this breathing space, what will China do? It will strengthen its tentacles nicely. Then the world will have a problem. Yes. Afghanistan have $3 trillion of wealth, which is near monopoly given to China. See, no other country have that kind of influence on Afghanistan except for Russia and Pakistan. They are the closest countries, right? Pakistan, Russia, and China. China is directly negotiating with Taliban. Pakistan is already under the basket of China. The only country is Russia. Now Russia is distracted. Russia does not have the time to do anything in Afghanistan. So who will dominate? Pakistan and China. Happily, China will explore the minerals. That is also a secure threat. Just imagine $3 trillion worth of minerals, and all going to Chinese companies. Our dreams of having stronger relations with Central Asia is poof. Yes or no? All the 5 countries. Who was the main role? Russia. If you don't have Russia, we don't have Central Asia. If you don't have Russia, we don't have Afghanistan. The only person who invited India into Taliban dealings is who? Russia. Now the dream is gone. Why? It's not that what India have done or not what India have not done. It's more about what West have done and how it pushed Russia and China closer. Yes or no? See, if Russia and China are heavily dependent on each other, if India is trying to negotiate with Taliban, China will say, don't allow India. Then what will Russia do? I tried my level best, I am sorry. So these are ground realities. Now Lavanya will tell everything in summary. Summary about Pakistan, Russia-Ukraine war. No? Right? Kirtana? So, considering all these things, where are we in international relations? Strategic autonomy. So, problems are only starting, right? But I personally believe it is a wonderful lesson for India. See, why we never developed weapons? 2 reasons. One is Russia was giving us a good amount of weapons. Okay, so whenever a government like Congress government or some other government felt it was weak, okay, I need weapons, I need nuclear submarines. Who will give? Russia. Russia never said no. Why? Good business partner. I give money, you give me weapons. The dependency kept on increasing. So as long as I was able to manage things, okay, the underbelly lethargy will automatically come. Why do we need to push DRDO? Okay, see, if we had a cheaper alternative to send satellites to space, we would not have pushed ISRO in the same way. The same happened to DRDO, right? DRDO could not develop Tejas for 20 years. Why? There was no push. Why? We could have always brought weapons from Russia or France or some other country. So now that dream is broken. Now we have woken up. Because of the Russia support, actually Russia was not helping us. It was silently killing us like a cancer. At least mindset wise. We never try to be self-reliant in weapons. Why? Russia is there. Russia is evergreen friend. Russia. So we happily slept. Now USA, Israel, France. Tomorrow the same thing can happen to France. Tomorrow we can fight with USA. Tomorrow we might fight with Israel. So we cannot keep on futurely depending for weapons from outside. So I think this India-Ukraine war will give a huge push to indigenous weapon development. And startup companies and others will definitely make sure India have a lot of things. And the push for cards like RuPay. We have seen Google Pay. If Google Pay is banned overnight, what will happen? Luckily, the platform is ours. UPI is an Indian platform. So if Google Pay is banned, we might shift to Bharat Pay or some other thing. Something else will work out. But underlying Delhi is same. The same with social media companies. I mean, I'm not trying to replicate China to create everything Indian, but we should have a safety mechanism, right? We cannot only depend on Twitter or Facebook for social communication. We should try to encourage that Indianness so that we will be safe, seeing how quickly the world can change. If India was not this dependent on Russian weapons, do you think India would have taken the same stand? May or may not be. Yes. So that awareness will come. I think medical institutions will get a good push. More Indian students will have proper engineering, medical colleges and all those things. So that also is the lethargic process. Nobody is bothered about medical colleges. We don't know donation seats, so on and so forth. So that might change. So then these are the major things from Russia, right? Weapon development for India will definitely improve. Thanks to China, we started Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thanks to Russia, we will continue it. Yes. So just why is Israel so powerful?
It is not dependent on
Self-reliant.
others.
It is always on toes because of its enemies. Its enemies did not let it sleep. So it tried to become stronger and stronger every day. What happened to India? Russia gave us a 60, 70 years of comfort. China gave us a 40 years of comfort. Thanks to both of them, now those comforts are gone. Yes. So India will be pushed to become stronger. And the Bill Clinton's famous anecdote, it's the economy stupid. Right? Everything will boil down to economy. Without economy, none of these things will happen. If in tomorrow's world, if somebody has to respect us, that comes only because of money. So the sooner we become $5 trillion economy, the better. Yes, that is one thing. Second thing, the sooner we develop our own weapons, the better. And then we can definitely push for global reforms like UNSC reforms, WTO reforms. Francis Fukuyama recently wrote a wonderful article in Financial Times where he argues that liberal world order is declining. Not only now, we are not seeing the decline of liberal world order now. From the last 10 years, it is happening. WTO is failed state, more or less, but nobody tried to revive it. So that is why we are seeing multilateralism, these regional groupings. So in the same way, now whatever Russia is doing is affecting everyone, and we could not bring all of them into one consensus table. Even now, the entire thing is boiled down to what USA will say. So even in my class, what did I say just now? Biden, if he comes with a written agreement, Biden is nowhere in Europe, but the NATO, the thing. So that means US-centric security system. NATO is nothing but US-centric. So Central Europe does not have a weapon or depend on the strength of its own. So I think even they will start diversifying now. So the world should stop heavily depending on unipolar kind of world or superpower centric world. We should encourage multilateral or multipolar world. So Germany should become stronger, India should become stronger, Japan, Brazil. So UNSC reforms are a must now for a new world order. At least if not for anybody's sake, for USA's own sake. USA needs more allies. USA needs more powerful friends. And it is very clearly seeing that in this Russia-Ukraine war, right? No country is actually sending army except Germany. Germany is also giving some missiles and weapons to Ukraine, but nobody is actually doing anything about it. So if something has to be done, who has to do it? Yes. Clear? But if China, India, Japan, all these are UNSC members, everybody have veto or something, they might bring some kind of pressure on these global countries. Yes. A safety for abroad students. What should we do? We should have multilateral agreements with all these countries like USA, UK, France, wherever our students are going. We should make sure that their safeties are guaranteed. They are covered health-wise, insurance, security, refunds, so on and so forth. So that will set a new template. So actually, nobody knew that this many number of students are in Ukraine. Right? We might have thought few thousands, but 20,000 plus students in Ukraine is surprising. That many. Got it? So IR does not have normal ethics. IR will always have a different kind of ethics. Any questions? No? Come on. Yes. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Now that there are so many businesses are being closed down, even Visa is exiting, Mastercard are exiting. Any chance that our rupee might go and expand business in Russia?
They're removing because of a moral stand.
Yes, sir,
If we go there and say, encourage rupee, no, I think it will look very bad on India's point of view. Like, see, why am I removing all those things? To reduce the financial movement and to protect the loss of life.
not instantaneously, but
In the long run, I think CBDC will be much more. Our UPI platform might be a click. If Google Pay is there, that means probably they have something in lines of UPI. So UPI can be globalized, and it's not a rocket science to be globalized, right? So China is already doing that in the format of CBDC. China launched CBDC not less than 6 months ago. We haven't even launched the CBDC, and China's CBDC is as easy as our UPI. So they have a right. So don't fall into the trap of this media articles. Always take them with a pinch of salt and maintain that neutrality. Yes, because 6 months down the line, we will forget that there was a Russia-Ukraine war. We will be worried about something else. Yeah. People forgot COVID. Yes,
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan is gone. Afghanistan, there was a time where every day Afghanistan. Now Afghanistan, one small country. The same with Russia-Ukraine war also. If COVID can be forgotten by humanity, I think Russia-Ukraine war is just a footnote.
Yes, sir.
So don't worry. Don't. And our opinions never matter. Right? We are all just players in the game. Do you think our opinions matter? Our Facebook photos or WhatsApp statuses will change Putin's mind? You do it for your own sake, right? Your ego satisfaction. I said something against Putin. Okay, I'm happy. I work for humanity. Okay, good. Except that it makes zero difference. Yes. Be happy, chill, watch Netflix. Yes. Read good books. Live in the planet while it is livable. Happily. After that, anyhow, all of us 2050. Yes. Right? We may or may not. 2050 is very far. Yes, 28 more years. So stay happy. No tension. No Ukraine. It's not our war. Even if it is, we cannot do anything.
Today there was an article about liberal democracy index.
This one, that the mega article. BDM. Anti-national reports.
India is under electoral democracy.
Anti-national reports. This one. There is a report called as VDM report, variety of democracies. India is a autocracy. Okay, electoral autocracy. Again, the smoothest way to write this is we are a presidential form of election in a parliamentary system. Okay, and that is not the problem of the system. It is the people who are choosing that. It's Modi versus Rahul Gandhi. Modi versus Mamata Banerjee. So I have reduced the entire elections to entire West Bengal elections has been reduced to Mamata Banerjee versus Modi. Okay, so people are discussing in those terms. People are voting in those patterns. It's the people's problem, right? So how can you say did Modi create that kind of culture? No, that kind of culture created Modi.
We can choose to be a better democracy by not going to first past the post and opting for proportional representation.
For a deeply fractured, illiterate, ignorant society like India, do you think apart from first past the post, anything else will work?
People will not understand.
People are not understanding first past the post. People are now thinking, Lotus BJP done voting. My job is done. They are not seeing the criminal history of the candidate. They are not asking the questions. How many Indians? I think I can literally count on fingers. How many Indians will call their MP and ask, what is your stand on India Russia? Do you have the access? Do you call your local ministry member of parliament? See, if tomorrow India decides to support Russia, okay, parliamentary bill will be passed or something like that. We need to know where he stands. It will be decided by whom?
Party whip.
Not even whip, right? Why do you have the issue whip? I will say BJP is in favor of supporting Russia. Done. Parliament bill passed. So what does your MP's opinion have to do anything with it? So as long as we don't ask our MPs, they don't ask their bosses. So we created the worshipping kind of system, and we always have this, colonial mindset, right? My Bab attitude. Some Raja should be there. He will take care of us. Okay. So again, people thought even USA was a very liberal society, but Donald Trump. We needed a Donald Trump to show how stupid the Americans are, how deeply polarized the country was. So till then, in the rosy pictures of Hollywood movies, everything was, peaceful, heaven. But in ground reality, that was not the case. So like this, I don't think we can call it as electoral autocracy. Maybe our democratical values are sliding to the south. That much we can agree. And it again depends on whose version you want to listen. Did NGOs do the good job? Yes. If I take Akshay Patra as a benchmark, yes. If I take some NGO which has promoted religious conversions, no. So I have both the case studies. So if I want to bash civil societies, I will bash them. If I want to support them, I will support them. Right? Yes. Clear? I will end the session here.